against the Cincinnati Bengals. And fun fact, the Eagles have never won in Cincinnati prior to this past Sunday. I can't
Never?
wait to get into this ever.
Never.
I
What?
can't wait to get into this game. Before we do that, I want to remind you that if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or SoundCloud or any of those lovely audio applications, please do not forget to drop us a follow on these applications and hit that subscribe button to make sure that, hey, you're notified every time we have an episode that drops. If you're watching me on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right now. Just like stop what you're doing. I'll give you a moment right now. Just go do it. It takes you gives you zero risk and you get all the reward of getting all of this amazing content. Okay. I'm Ali. I'm joined by Andrew and Aleks. Aleks, you look like you're not in your usual domain. We'll get into it. But first, Andrew, as our resident Philadelphia Eagles watcher from the TV, and I know you saw some highlights of the game. I want to get your take on what you think happened at this game. What were your thoughts? Walk me
That's
through
very it's very generous of you to call me a watcher because I missed the third straight game due to
it.
work schedule. Good news, I'm off the next 2 weekends, so I can make up for lost time. However, don't worry. I took my time. I watched the most extended highlights that I could because obviously I see a second week in a row of the Eagles winning by multiple possessions. Who thought that we were going to see that like anytime this stratosphere? No, anytime this century. I don't know where that came from. I'm not the most well slept right now either. I'm in the middle of a 7-day work stretch. So I know you guys were all partying in Cincinnati, but some of us in Philadelphia are missing missing Eagles games and working every darn day. But I got to tell you, man, watching the highlights, it was wow, what a shift, because you see that first drive, and I can only imagine how the two of you felt at that game, because we talked about it last week. You guys were like, oh, we're bad luck. We've never gone to an away game and won before, so therefore we couldn't pick Eagles as our Wingin It pick. And, the first drive I got to actually listen to on my way to work. I was in at 1:30. So I got to listen to the first drive. It sounded like the Bengals picked up a million third downs that drive. And sure enough, when I went back and I watched the highlights, I could not believe, and it went into the second quarter as well. It was the first drive. They hit all these third downs. You thought Jamar Chase was going to have a monster game, but he only ended with he had 9 catches, but only for 54 yards or something like that. So it looked like he was in store for well over 100. But man, to see how that game started and for the Eagles to win that game 37-17, holy smokes. It did not look like it was going to end that way. The Eagles offense looked alive. Jalen looked good. Another really efficient game for Jalen, back-to-back weeks. We're not turning the ball over. In fact, we're actually forcing turnovers. So yeah, how's that? How's that for starters? Everything looked really darn good for my living room when I watched the highlights about 2 hours ago. So man, I'm excited about this team again. Aleks, obviously I want to hear about both of your experience at the Bengals game. So yeah, what did it look like in the first person?
Yeah, so I don't look like I'm in my normal domain. My wife threw me out of the house because I spent all my money on Eagles tickets. Just kidding.
Yeah, you probably deserve
it. No, I am at Chicago right now for a work trip right now. And guys, I can't just stop talking about how good the Philadelphia Eagles looked, how much of the corner it looks like we turned, how we didn't have a single person on defense that looked like they were slacking at all, how our offense looked like it clicked, how Jalen Hurts looked like a statue in the pocket, how the designed runs, the tush pushes, the establishing the run, everything just looks so freaking incredibly well. The one thing that is bothersome about the game is I know that the entire league is harping on the fact that the Eagles haven't scored a point in the first quarter in however many games, 9 games or something like that. However, I think that's usually indicative that they don't score on their first drive or first drives, because usually you have multiple. The Bengals had a 10-minute, perfectly scripted drive. The Eagles actually did score on the first drive. They did walk away with the field goal. So it's almost like we broke the curse here. I think if we had more time, right at the beginning of the second quarter.
We're on the right track. We're so close.
We're on the right track. So I don't know if I don't think it's fair to say that we had a slow start this game because we did score on the first drive. I think there was only one, maybe two punts the entire game, but the second punt really came in like garbage time where it didn't really matter. The team looked absolutely incredible. And we'll get into the game day experience and just talk a little bit about Cincinnati. But my gosh, the Philadelphia Eagles fans showed up. Ali, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking 20-25% of that stadium was green. They tried to make it a whiteout game. Didn't look so white when you had to see a green in the crowd as well.
Well, it also helped that their seats are green, similar to the Eagles Stadium. Yes.
Yeah, true.
Wait, is that true? Why do they have green seats?
I didn't ask anyone. I don't know why. they're green. Yeah.
They literally look like a team that's built for Halloween, and they're rocking green seats.
Green seats. You know,
Weird.
again, a lot of things were weird about that game. Those weren't that wasn't the question that I asked though. Yeah, no, this was an incredible game. Eagles fans showed out. I agree, Drew. That first drive, I don't know how many third downs we converted. I don't know how many third downs we continued to convert well into the second quarter. The 3rd and 22, we can talk about that as well. But it almost became like a meme when we were talking with other Bengals fans around us and Eagles fans. We were like, oh man, our biggest weakness is third down.
Yeah.
Like all you got to get us in is third down and you're going to for sure convert. But back to this conversation around the Eagles not scoring in the first quarter. If you guys remember last week, I brought up the 5 teams in the past 20 years in the NFL that had not scored a single point in the first quarter. And guess who the only one remaining is? 7 weeks into the season, 7 games into the season. Guess who the only one remaining is?
Well, guess what? Unlike all of those teams of years past, we have already eclipsed winning 4 games in a season. Because I'm pretty sure all those other teams that you mentioned couldn't get past 4 wins.
Correct. Yeah, no, this game, in my opinion, was a get right game. This was a get back on track game. Are we there? No. I think there's still a lot to.
We're back, baby. We're back, baby. We're so back. We're so back.
This is not It's not Overreaction Monday. This is Overreaction Wednesday.
Is it weird for me? I'm actually. Hold on. Well, first of all, this upcoming weekend against the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're going to be rocking the Kelly green again, which I just realized earlier today. So I am so freaking stoked to see those beautiful, beautiful, beautiful jerseys again. But I was going to ask the question, like the last 2 weeks, we've had these pretty significant wins, but they've both been on the road. Like, why is it difficult for the Eagles to play? I don't know. Like, we haven't seen it in a while. Like, why can't we play at that same level at home? But also, will the Kelly green jerseys help change that? Because I feel like they will, to be honest.
If the jerseys do help, then I guess we should just wear Kelly greens, despite how ugly I think they are. Regardless of
I forgot that you thought that they're ugly.
Unpopular take.
You are so out of your mind for thinking that, Ali.
Maybe I don't like green that looks like it got washed on the hot cycle and just got washed out.
Blasphemy. I cannot believe the words that are coming.
Yeah. Best throwbacks in the league, and it's just like you have the opportunity to love the best throwbacks in the league.
I actually feel bad for you, Ali. I feel bad for you that you don't think that these jerseys are as beautiful as they are. Because while we watch these muscly, oily men in these beautiful shades of green trying to maintain our pants, you are hating it, and I feel bad for you.
I can take that. No, I do think that this past game was in fact the best get right game that we've had so far. We've had these blips where it seems like we're back and then all of a sudden we're not. The offense is clicking, but the defense isn't. The defense is clicking, but the offense is clicking. This is the first time. I remember, Aleks, after the game, I kept looking at you and I was like, what a complete win. And that's what it felt like. It felt like a truly, truly complete win. And you can argue that the Bengals defense isn't that great. That's fine. The Bengals offense is actually pretty damn good. And we were able to hold them to 17 points, which I feel like is just more of a sort of a chip a feather in the old cap, if you will, in this Vic Fangio defense, and hopefully we can continue to build on it.
I do have to interject for a second though. Like
Yeah.
I can't pretend like the Bengals not having T. Higgins didn't mean anything, because they were missing a very good wide receiver. I don't want to take anything away from the performance of our defense, but let's call a spade here. And they were missing their second best wide receiver, who happens to be a very, very talented wide receiver.
Look, there was one play on that defense that I feel like just terrible, right? And it was the first touchdown to Jamar Chase. It was like the 15th play of that enormously long drive.
Oh, you
and
mean
it was
because Nolan Smith was covering him one-on-one?
What? So yes, okay. If T. Higgins was back there, he could have probably scored a touchdown against Nolan Smith. That's fine. Aleks, I want to get your thoughts, man, because that was honestly one of the most memorable games that I had when I was in person. And I think you've remarked that, outside of the Super Bowl, because obviously the aura of the Super Bowl, that this was one of the best away games that you've been to. Talk to me about some of the reasons why.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Midwest. I mean, I think part of football is immersing yourself with the culture of all the different cities and everything that you get. So I'm just a big fan of just seeing new places. The Cincinnati tailgate was phenomenal. Probably the best tailgating experience that you could have. So for starters, there's a trolley that goes around, and it costs $1 to get on. It drops you off near the stadium. It's along the Ohio River, and you're already in downtown when you go to the stadium. So they have the Red Stadium, and then they have Paycor Stadium. And in between that, I would say is maybe a half mile, 3/4 of a mile. A quarter of a mile. Yeah, 3/4 of a mile, half a mile of nothing but bars, restaurants, shops. They have vendors outside. They have trucks. They have beer trucks. The first 30 seconds we walked in, Idaho and Potatoes was on the megaphone saying, "Hey, free potatoes over here." And we got potatoes for free, microwave potatoes. Yeah. So no, but it was really awesome. And it's just a very controlled environment. You don't have to bring a grill. You don't have to know someone. You're not walking through a parking lot and kind of schlepping around. So the setup for the tailgate was incredible, because we really went down there without an agenda and found things to do. We saw Birdman before the game, saw a couple of the Philly guys walking around down there, and it was incredible. Besides that, the actual cities around it, we were actually in northern Kentucky. It's right on the river. Yeah, Cincinnati Airport is in Kentucky too. A little fun fact there. And Ali and I went to a Thai restaurant. We felt like we were sitting in someone's kitchen. And this old lady makes the Thai noodles from scratch, and it was $13 for pad Thai. I mean, it's just little things like that. It was just really nice, the Midwestern charm and everything like that. Everyone was insanely welcoming. The cashier looked like George Kittle. Ali,
he was George Kittle. He was George Kittle.
It's definitely his
night job.
It's definitely his day job. And the fans were really nice. They were really cordial. We had a guy behind us, and he's just oh man, I don't know. At one point he flipped off Ali because we were up by so much. And then as the fans dispersed, as the game was out of reach, we walked down towards the front. I got a pretty cool clip that I shared on the Instagram channel. So if you haven't seen it, wingin.it.pod, check out the video edit that I put in. But all in all, just an absolute remarkable experience. Great people, great food. Getting a 20-point victory again for the second week in a row with the 2-possession win was incredible. But Cincinnati is great. Smaller town, they show up for their football team, but it was a really fun experience for sure.
Aleks, whenever you talk about your experience traveling to another stadium, I'm always curious of the schlep meter, because I feel if there's anything, if there's nothing more that you hate than a schlep. You hate schlepping. You hate sitting in traffic. You hate walking. You hate being inconvenienced. You hate walking out of your way to get to a stadium. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm what is more, the amount that Aleks hates a schlep, or
yes, dude,
Aleks loving a good story? What weighs more?
I love a good story, Drew. I love a good story more than anything. Just love it.
I love a good story more than I hate a schlep.
the schlep meter in Cincinnati is not a lot. It was very quick, not a lot of waiting. The trolley didn't really come get us the second time around, but Ali saved the day with the lift, and we got to where we needed to be really, really quickly after.
Nice.
But I feel like schlepping doesn't really matter when you walk out of a stadium with a 20-point win. You kind of just like take the good with the good.
That's a very good point.
Yeah,
So Halloween is tomorrow. I feel like once Halloween is over, is that when like the Christmas decorations start? Is that when people start decorating? I am not of the Christmas people, as both of you may be aware. So sometimes I do have I've never had to decorate for Christmas before, which I feel like
I'm right there with you, Drew.
Ali, it's nice to have someone around who actually understands what it's like to not actually grow up with Christmas because
we hate Christmas.
the whole religions of people.
Yes.
Aleks. Okay, cool. I thought we lost Aleks
Sorry.
for a second.
No, I'm back.
You're
I'm
good.
back.
You're good. So, like in this, I couldn't help but think after this exciting win, we have some like fun new young players on the team. Christmas is coming up. Like if Santa could bring you an Eagles jersey right now, what's your pick? Ali, I'll start with you. Because you bought a DeAndre Swift jersey last year, and he didn't last very long.
I know my answer. If you don't know yet, Ali.
Go for it.
I know who Aleks wants. I knew it.
Cooper DeJean.
I knew
my
it.
man showed up he did drop an interception that was in his hands. I mean, that's why he plays DB and not wide receiver.
Yep.
But the explosiveness that he has on a top 5 NFL wide receiver to stop them on that 4th and 3 was absolutely elite. And guys, it is his first year.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to settle in. He's going to make some rookie mistakes, but the impact that this dude is making already gets me so freaking fired up. Cooper DeJean, whatever. Give me that jersey. That's exactly who I want.
I would have bet good money on that.
Speaking of Cooper DeJean, that's exactly what the announcer kept calling him in the stadium. He kept calling him Cooper DeJean, and every time he would do it, would be like tackle made by, and we're all listening for it. So he'd say Cooper DeJean, be like, yeah, Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
To answer your question, Drew, I feel like because it's episode 92, I've got to pay homage to the great, late Reggie White.
Hell yeah. I like that you took this as an opportunity to recognize that this is episode 92. And
it is.
The great that wore that number. But if you could choose a current Eagle, who would you go with?
I would probably go with Quinyon Mitchell, the other rookie DB.
Q.
I love
it's
that.
almost shocking at the amount of times quarterbacks are now picking on Slay versus Q. It's almost like wherever Slay is lined up, that's probably where the ball is going to go, because he has put the word out over the entire league. He's a shutdown corner, and no one wants to go near him. Dude is just a rock star. I would take a Q jersey, and the fact that he wears 27, Malcolm Jenkins, knocking out Brandon Cooks in the Super Bowl. It's always a fun memory.
And you made the case last week that you think Quinyon has a real chance of being an all-pro in his first year, which would be remarkable. I mean, if he makes a Pro Bowl, I'd be ecstatic, but I think you're onto something there. I think I'm still going AJ Brown. I just like that dude, man. Like
difference maker, man.
That is like, I don't know how else to describe him. And him and Jalen just have a connection. Jalen just like, that's his boy. And I mean, DeVonta had a great game too. And I also would love a DeVonta Smith jersey, but there's just AJ is just I just love watching him play. I just love it so much.
So we've been a little bit excited, but let's get into just like some of the criticisms of the game. Like, listen, it wasn't a perfect game. I do think there was a few shortcomings into it. Like, what is some criticism that you both have? I'll start with one. Despite Jalen Hurts looking really good in the pocket, I mean, he looked like a statue. I mean, he looked incredible. Pocket presence, little late. Ali, don't say it. Little late. Little late getting the ball out. Okay, I'll just say it. He looked like a typical white quarterback in the pocket, just sitting there.
Just slow and tall and white.
That's what we're joking about in our group chat. It's just funny. But no, he got the ball out a little bit slow. right? There were a few times where he's waiting for people to get open. I think he had a few opportunities to get the ball to AJ a little bit sooner, and it seems like he's waiting for his guys to get really wide open instead of hitting them in stride where they are in a really wide open spot. So I do think that was one criticism from Jalen that I had, is that it looks like he was holding onto the ball a little bit long. What do you guys think about that?
Yes. However, if your offensive line is giving you 4 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, take as much time as you can. I'm not too mad at him holding on to the ball for a long time. I do think, so Drew, where we were sitting, it was away from the play going when DeVonta Smith had that long reception. And as the play unfolded, I felt like I was playing Madden because of like how we were sitting, and I was literally just like looking at exactly what Jalen Hurts was looking at. And as the play started developing, I mean, Aleks made a comment, right? Like I just started screaming, "Got him, got him, got him." And for the life of me, I couldn't understand why he hadn't thrown the ball. Now, again, hindsight, he waited, and Smitty was at the back of the end zone when
he got to the fine. He got behind the defender. Yeah.
Yes. But for the most part, there were a couple of times where I did see Jalen where he could have anticipated the route a little bit more. There was a pass that he threw to Calcaterra that was like he was just kind of standing there, and then Jalen threw him the ball, and then Calcaterra caught it and just ran, right? Versus those slant routes, those unstoppable slant routes that he throws to A.J. Brown. There seems to be a lack in anticipation from Jalen, but to be honest, again, if the offensive line is giving you 4 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, like take as much time as you need. I'm not too mad at it. Sure. As far as a criticism for me, the fact that we couldn't get off the field for so many times, like that 3rd and 22 was such a backbreaker that it was almost a meme at that point, right? We were like, oh, 3rd down, guys, even though it's 3rd and 22, they're probably going to convert this. And then they ended up doing it. And I was like, what is going on with this team? The first drive obviously was terrible, but the fact that they were like 8 for 8 before they finally had a non-3rd down conversion where they kicked a field goal, to me was a big sort of like a head scratcher, right? Like, why can't we get off the field? Why can't we get off the field? And again, second half adjustments ended up working out for us. We had a couple of plays go our way, but I didn't like the fact that we weren't able to get off the field on 3rd downs. What do you think, Drew?
I feel like we're being a little. I can't pick on Jalen Hurts at all. In fact, I actually wanted to share a little bit of a blurb that I have here. This is from Ruben Frank from NBC Sports. The name of the article is "The Eagles have been waiting a long time for this Jalen Hurts to show up." And so first off, this was the first game of Jalen's career where he completed 80% of his passes with at least 1 touchdown pass and 0 interceptions. In the 3 wins since the bye week, Hurts has completed 71% of his passes. He's 42 for 59 for 614 yards with 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a 127.4 passer rating and 5 rushing touchdowns. Before the bye week, Hurts only had 5 games in his entire career with a passer rating of 127 or higher. And now that's what he's averaged over the past 3 weeks. So this is arguably like the cleanest 3 weeks of football that Jalen Hurts has played. And it's funny to read that or to like hear that. But then what we're actually looking at, it doesn't actually feel that way. It looks like we can still see an even better Jalen out there. So don't get me wrong. He didn't play a perfect game. There was a 3rd down play that I feel like he threw to Gainwell that was like well behind the line of scrimmage. There's still a couple times that were, I don't know. Like I don't like plays that are short of like on 3rd down. It's like you need 10. Like don't throw a ball that's only going to go for 7 unless you know that you're going to go for it on 4th down. But yeah, man, I like if there really is one thing to really nitpick or kind of say, hey, this was not great. It was definitely the 3rd down conversions at the beginning, literally the first 2 drives of the game where it looked like, oh, if this is how it's going to go, like it's going to be a really long afternoon. But I think it was Mike Gesicki who caught that 3rd and 22 pass. And I think he was the one that ended up fumbling at the end of the game. So it kind of felt like, a nice little payback for that back-breaking play at the time.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Drew, because prior to this game, Jalen Hurts had the third least off target throws in the NFL. He was
He's
actually
not
behind
throwing
Joe
a
Burrow.
ton. Like he threw, what was he, 10 of 14 last week, and this week he's 6 of 20. Like they're not, which is great because you have Saquon.
It is
so
great.
Like they're using him.
Exactly, right? This is the identity of this football team, and I don't know why we refuse to sort of like accept it. Nick just wants to throw the ball consistently, but we are a running football team, and it doesn't matter who's back there, whether it's Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift, Saquon Barkley, Kenny Gainwell. Like, we are going to be successful with the run. Even Jalen Hurts, right?
LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah.
Right. But regardless, the highest graded quarterbacks this season from a clean pocket, Justin Herbert's number 1, Lamar Jackson's number 2, Joe Burrow's number 3, Jaden Daniels, remember that Hail Mary from this past weekend, is number 4, and number 5 is Jalen Hurts. He's a very capable pocket passer. He doesn't throw inaccurate throws. About 11% of his passes this season were off target. That's not a lot, right? Like he's doing his job when he's asked.
Yep.
And I think what we found is that the Eagles are successful when we don't ask Jalen Hurts to do too much, right? Jalen Hurts, I think we just need to accept he's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Tom Brady. He's not like this all-world like will beat you just by yourself. But if you put the right pieces around him and you don't ask him to do too much, he's going to deliver. He's going to deliver exceptional numbers, and he's going to be the reason why you won.
I disagree with that, Ali. I think that Jalen Hurts doesn't have to be absolutely extraordinary, but using his strengths does give him an advantage that you can't just put a guy back there. I don't think Brock Purdy or Jared Goff or I'm trying to think of a few other quarterbacks like maybe Russell Wilson. Like, I don't think they're going to be successful in this offense, and we're just asking him to do his job. The two things that he has going for him in the 1-yard situations, it's a guaranteed get. Right, that tush push play and the amount of athleticism that man possesses is a difference maker. The fact that he was having such an elusive, or he was having such a good pocket presence, and then on design QB draws, he was breaking out for 11, 12 yards. That is the Jalen Hurts effect on the team. So it doesn't have to be that he's doing it strictly by his arm, but his pure athleticism alone, I do think puts him into that upper echelon of quarterback that Jalen Hurts is the difference maker. You can't just put a guy back there and expect this team to act the same. So I kind of disagree with that take.
And he had 3 touchdowns on the ground. 2 of them, I think, were tushy pushies.
Exactly.
But the one looked like he actually had some burst. Like it might have been like around like a 10-yard touchdown. He kind of turned the corner and he had some giddy up. So that is also a very good sign. And like you said, Alex, whenever there were these designed run plays where it wasn't just him making one read and then scrambling, he found a hole, he hit it, and it was a nice pickup every time.
And I just love – sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say the only other thing is there's a difference between asking Jalen to do too much and Jalen trying to do too much. So, you know, I would think that the coaches aren't like, hey, Jalen, like you need to do all this. If anything, it's like he's trying to play hero ball and he doesn't always need to. So
this looked like a traditional early Dak Prescott career Kellen Moore coach game. Jalen looked so good. He didn't rush to the right when he got a little bit of pressure. He stood in there and like honestly, like it looks like some of those like those staple Cowboys games where they were throwing big chunk plays and Dak was running and they did have a good run game when Zeke was a little bit younger. If that's the Eagles' identity, I think we have the puzzle pieces to take that Kellen Moore offense a little bit better. I don't know what conversations they were having on the phone. I'm a huge fan, and I said it earlier this podcast, I don't want anybody else under center but Jalen Hurts. I think he is the difference maker on this team, and I'm rolling with him.
It's amazing what happens when Jalen doesn't turn the ball over. We talk about him like he is our most prized possession, but the second that dude starts turning the ball over, Ali is just like, like he's done. This guy sucks.
But again, I think this is the conversation about of what I was talking about, right? Like when you ask Jalen Hurts to do more. Okay, so Alex, let's meet halfway. When you ask Jalen Hurts to do more than what he is good at, bad things happen. Jalen Hurts is good on design quarterback runs, the read option, and he's good for pocket passing. What he's not good for is the Patrick Mahomes keep the play alive, the Russell Wilson, prime days of keep the play alive and make plays that way. I just he's too consistent with how he tries to keep the play alive, usually rushing to his right and just, waiting for AJ Brown to get open. And then he either throws an interception, gets sacked, or throws the ball out of bounds.
Mm-hmm. Which, honestly, throwing the ball out of bounds is usually a win in that scenario.
In any case, I wanted to show this analysis because I think frankly it's laughable. This is the relationship between scripted EPA per play versus non-scripted EPA per play.
And for those listening, Ali provided a beautiful, what looks almost like a nice PowerPoint presentation for us. No, I'm just kidding. It's just a graph. Scripted versus non-scripted EPA per play. You actually mentioned EPA last week, and I meant to ask, I honestly don't know what that stands for.
Ooh, that is you're testing my knowledge here.
How are you going to show us a chart on EPA and not know what it even means?
Earned points.
I think it's expected points, but
I've played this game where I guess what an acronym stands for, and I've been way off many times.
I'm gonna assume it's expected points added, but it's like EPA football.
I also like asking Google what these things stand for because it'll give me like 12 different things that EPA can actually stand
expected points added.
Okay.
Expected points added. Okay.
Expected points added.
So the Eagles, for those of you listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, this is why you should come to our YouTube channel so that you can actually see some of these graphics that were thrown out at you here. The Eagles, from a non-scripted play perspective, look like they are tied for second to last with the Carolina Panthers for scripted play.
Sweet.
Scripted EPA per play, right? So, which means our first drive yields about -3 points per play. However,
we've almost scored -3 cumulatively in the first quarter this year.
Correct. However, our non-scripted EPA per play, i.e., everything that happens after what you've kind of designed for the beginning of the game, is actually second best in the NFL behind the Washington Commanders, which means that we have an ability to adjust really well. And if all we have to do is figure out the first drive of every single game and score points after those first drives, I don't know how we don't have the number one offense in the NFL if we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
What's weird is that I feel like our defense operates in the same way. Like we might give up points the first drive or 2 or 3, but then they really settle in, and I don't know. I don't know, man. Like the Eagles are so close to playing a complete game, and if they're able to do that on both sides of the football, they're back in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, and since Aleks and I have broken the curse of going to an away game, Aleks, what are you doing in February?
Yeah, let's do it, man. We want to go to, was it New Orleans? Let's
New
do
Orleans,
it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. You want to shift course to the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah, let's talk about this upcoming Sunday.
Well, the Philadelphia Eagles play the Jacksonville Jaguars at 4:05 Eastern on Sunday.
Flex from a Sunday night game.
Thank God, because I hope that this game turns into what I think we all think it's going to turn into. However, because in the last 3 weeks I've predicted Eagles losses that have turned out Eagles wins, you can kind of see where this is coming or going. I mean,
taking one for the team.
Taking one for the team. No, I honestly, I think this is going to boil down to how quickly our offense can get on top of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we force Trevor Lawrence to have to beat us with his arm, I think this is going to be a long day for the Jaguars. If the Jaguars are able to establish the run, which again, I just don't see how it's going to happen, I think this is going to be a tough game for us. I think what I've recognized in this game from the Cincinnati Bengals has kind of had me realize is I get pretty nervous when our offense is not on the field. When the other team's offense is driving up and down and eating up clock and we're not out there trying to score points, the less confident I feel And even though this defense has shown like it is capable, it is highly capable of being able to make stops when it's the right moment, with the exception of Kirk Cousins on Monday Night Football, I still feel much more confident when our offense is out there. I feel much more confident when we're winning the time of possession. So the key to this game in my mind is quick stops. The Eagles get on top early, and we just continue to run the football and eat up that time of possession. So with that, I'm going to predict an Eagles loss here because I got to stay with tradition. I'm gonna say that the Jacksonville Jaguars score 3 points and the Eagles score 0.
You're a lunatic.
You are a lunatic, Ali. I just don't think so. Switching gears and not trying to stick to tradition or whatever it is, because the Eagles don't play any better based off what our little podcast says who's going to win or not, Ali. Just ruining credibility for everything that we do. I simply
The
don't
Eagles
think.
win. It's because I predicted a loss.
Yeah. Or whatever. I just don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars have the firepower to do much against our defense. Like, yeah, they'll score a few points, maybe a touchdown, but I don't see them scoring more than the Cincinnati Bengals did. I think the offense is clicking. We're going to be showing up in Kelly Green. We're going to be feeling ourselves. The crowd's going to be into it. They're coming back. I don't think the away versus home thing really means anything, Andrew. I think we've hit a corner. I think there's been some coaching adjustments. I think Kellen Moore has full control of this offense now. I'm not buying into any superstition or any feeling that the home versus away thing has any impact on what it does. Guys, I feel really good about this team. I feel really confident. And pride comes before the fall. And man, I'm going to fall really hard when it happens. But you know what? I'm riding this high. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this game 9-35, and Kenny Pickett is going to be kneeling out the ends of the clock here. Eagles score so 35, nervous. Jacksonville 9.
When you led with 9, I'm like, what is wrong with both of you? What is happening? Did you guys forget that we're wearing those beautiful jerseys ever known to man, and that it's impossible for us to score less than 30 points in those beautiful
35 to 9. 35 to 9. Philly.
AJ Jones just said, if it's not a blowout like the Giants, it'll be a long Sunday, but this is still a trap game with the Dougie P homecoming.
That plumage ain't pluming.
Plumage. I love that word. It's currently a 7.5 point. Eagles are a 7.5 point favorite. The over under is currently at 45.5. Look, I don't see, like, I'm looking just at like team comparisons, and the Jags have actually been kind of decent against the run this year. They're 9th against the run. The Eagles are 8th against the run. However, the Jaguars are 31st against in pass defense. So if there's a game for Jalen to light it up, this is an ideal matchup. I don't see how their corners are going to be able to stick with AJ and DeVonta. It's just not going to be possible. The Jaguars are 29th in points allowed, and then on the offensive side of the ball, they're 21st in points scored. They're just like, they really are not a good looking team. And I think that they're dealing with some injury issues too. They have a rookie who's looked great, Brian Thomas Jr.
I had him in fantasy. I picked him up in fantasy.
He's been great. He's been great, but he's dealing with a chest injury. Travis Etienne has kind of been dealing with the injury bug. I think he's been out the last couple of weeks. So Tank Bigsby's been their starting running back. But Gabe Davis, the wide receiver, has also been dealing with injury. So you might be looking at a depleted Jacksonville Jaguars offense on top of already sucking. So I will be really disappointed if the Eagles don't win this game by multiple possessions.
Yes, sir.
I am a little worried about being at home, but I'm telling you, those Kelly Green jerseys are going to be just what it takes for us to get things right at the link. Give me the Eagles 34 to the Jaguars 13. This is going to be a clinic, and I am excited to watch it.
Yes, sir.
I don't like it. I don't like this confidence. Feels like we're
much better when
3 games is not enough, guys. 3 games is not enough for me. I need like at least 8 weeks before I'll start entertaining the idea that the Eagles will tie.
Come on, just enough. You're taking the Eagles for 3 points, or is it 0? You took
Zero. Zero.
Jaguars 3-0. You really have zero credibility for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Again,
All right,
I'm not making this prediction. I'm not making this prediction as a hey, this is actually what I think is going to happen. I'm making this prediction for the last 3 weeks, I predicted losses that have ended up into wins. I don't know.
Well, speaking of predictions, Ali, I think you guys did convince me last week to go with Washington as our Swingin' It pick of the week, and wouldn't you know it, they won at the last second. For anybody that didn't happen to see this highlight, which I feel like is impossible by this point, Washington had like 4 seconds left. Jaden Daniels scrambles a little bit, throws a 52-yard Hail Mary. It goes off of a defender's fingertips, who just so happened to be talking a bunch of smack, like as the play was developing. He's like turning and taunting the crowd, basically saying it's all over. It's all over. And he's the one who deflects the ball to where it kind of stays up in the air and lands into the arms of Noah Brown, Washington's receiver. So, of course, Washington stays at first place in the NFC East. It's fine. We still are going to play them twice. So it doesn't I don't think it matters too much in the grand scheme of things. I will say I had an undefeated fantasy football team. I was 7-0, and I lost by 5 fantasy points because, of course, the other person started. Jaden Daniels literally beat me on that last play of the game. But whatever, over it. So let's get into some picks for this week. Aleks, I know that you may. Are you able to view any of the current spreads?
I don't. I have this on my phone, and I don't have anything else in front of me. So if you can read me a few matchups, I'll give you my opinion.
So it sounds like Ali and myself are going to have to just kind of find a couple good ones and make a strong case.
Cool.
So
I am looking. You go.
The Houston Texans at the New York Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers is still in his pit of darkness. The Jets are actually 1.5 point favorites in that game.
You got to go into that pit of darkness, though.
So I was sitting. Hold on. I was sitting at if you know Chicago, I was at Illuminati's last night, Chicago deep dish, and I'm sitting at the bar, and this guy is sitting here next to me. We're talking about the Jets and like their woes, and like he doesn't understand it. Robert Saleh gets fired so early into a season. He's like, the worst thing that could possibly happen to the Jets right now is that Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. I want him to sit in this and go into every single week and come out absolutely depressed like his whole entire life is one giant ayahuasca trip. Dude, it was the funniest thing I've ever heard. That would be the worst thing to happen is Aaron Rodgers gets benched or gets hurt because he did this. He needs to sit in it. With that being said, it looks like Stephon Diggs is out for the rest of the season. CJ Stroud's digressing a little bit. That's going to be a tough one. I just don't know if the Jets will ever be able to get another win again, man.
Yeah, Jets can't seem to get out of their own way, but I'm not touching this one. No way. Yeah. No, thank you. I kind of like the Green Bay Packers at home against the Detroit Lions. I know that people are loving those Detroit Lions, but the Packers got some firepower, and that's a fun divisional game.
Packers almost lost to the Jags this last weekend.
It did.
But you can't always go off of that,
Is Jordan Love back? Is Jordan Love back? Because he got injured.
That's
at
true.
The end of that game.
And Malik Willis actually looked pretty good when he came in, but it looks like it's trending towards Jordan Love playing, but that could be a little questionable. So good, it's a good call out right there. I also like. How about the Cleveland Jameis Winstons at home against the Chargers?
What a guy!
They beat the Ravens. You kidding me?
I would run through a wall for that man. That man is. Hey, did you see his pregame speech?
I saw his postgame speech. If it was about Eminem, what a wacko!
So his pregame speech, he's like, "Eyes have not seen what we're about to do on this field. Ears have not heard. You gotta have faith in what you don't see, and what I see, I believe in." I'm like, oh my God, I will run through a wall for this man right now.
Unwavering faith. Are you nervous? Unwavering faith.
Dependence love the Lord.
I feel like he's like the worst improviser of all time. Like it always looks like he's really just trying to literally wing it on the spot and just like sound really like deep and motivational. And then he just says, "I got to give it up to a white man from Detroit." Eminem, and literally starts quoting. He starts quoting "Lose Yourself,"
Oh, I
and
love
I'm
it.
just like, Jameis, like,
But
trying
if you heard him, he said you only get one shot to blow.
this opportunity to blow. He's such a weirdo. But God bless him, man. I cannot believe they beat the Ravens. The Ravens
You
are
know
the
what?
winningest team.
How could we possibly move on from this? We have to
can't.
give it to Jamo. We can't go past this and not give it to Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
greatest
Swinging it
athlete.
pick for the week. Browns. How much? What's the? What are the lines on that?
oh,
One
it's
half.
just 1.5.
That's fine. Do it. It's worth it. It's 1.5.
High
All right.
rollers over here.
All right,
All right.
everyone. Well, thank you for winging it with us on episode 92. The Eagles seem to be back after a huge win after the Cincinnati Bengals. We got the full crew here for you today. Make sure you follow us on YouTube so you get to see the content and more infographics. We will talk to you next week after we play the Jags. Go Birds!
Oh, Kelly Green.
Go Birds.
Yeah, just stop the recording.
Yeah, it stopped. It's just uploading now.